SoftBank. We're really going to first start talking about Pax Silica overall, right? So number one, as Matt has mentioned across the board, he's mentioned Jacob Helberg, right? He's the Undersecretary for Economic Affairs. I think one of the architects of this Pax Silica agreement. He's definitely a known name in DC. He's been at talks. He's often, a little bit behind the curtain in terms of the day to day. You don't see him coming out as strongly as, let's say, Besant and Trump, etc. But he's definitely a key figure within the administration. But during the Pax Silica summit last December, he specifically calls out Japan as an essential partner, and as we've highlighted here, our collaboration with Japan is a foundational pillar of the entire partnership. So, you're already seeing from the architect himself of Pax Silica, obviously with other folks as well, but really Japan is a key piece of this entire roadmap.
Yeah.
I'm going to flip here. I know Matt is going to be able to have a lot more to discuss on this than I will, but first off, this is a really interesting map. When I first saw it, this is from the Brussels Institute for Geopolitics. It's that icon in the bottom left. It's really hard to read.
One of
even
the
at full
worst
size.
logos. One of the worst logos I think we've ever come across.
Yeah,
That's the actual logo.
It's interesting, but definitely hard to read. But this really lays out kind of the map of, just to quickly lay it out for you, there's 4 blocks in an overall square for a country. The top left is patent activity for semiconductors, top right is materials, bottom left is equipment, bottom right is assembly. And so within those, the colors mean whether or not they need to import them or export them, etc. But the key things to think about here are any blocks that are dark red, those are countries that have import dependencies on those materials. So just to point some out here, Thailand, for example, has a lot of red blocks out of the 4. India as well, so they're import dependent. Any that have a lot of green or a lot of purple, those are ones that they actually have export leverage. So they're actually producing specific materials, or they're producing specific items. You can see over in the middle here, South Korea, Japan, they have high. The purple is semiconductor patent design, as well as kind of greenish red, depending on what exactly we're talking about in each of those boxes. But maybe Matt, you highlighted a couple or circled some of these in this green angular circular a map. I don't know even how would you describe this, but essentially Matt has circled several countries here. So maybe you can explain why you circled those ones specifically and kind of what you're seeing in terms of the in versus out from that green ring.
Yeah. All right. So you start with number 1. The map isn't. I like this because it frames the world. The center is the Pacific Ocean, right? This is the 21st century, not the 1492 to 2020, maps you see, like Western Hemisphere on the left, Europe in the middle, giant Asian land island on the right. This is the perspective, the supply chains that are being built out for the 21st century economy. All right. I highlighted in the green kind of fence post. Think about it this way. You got the West Coast on the US where the technology industry is. Think about the memory fabs in Boise, Idaho, Micron, or the semiconductor fabs, TSMC in Arizona. Those supply chains are in the domestic United States, like interior to the coast, so they're a bit protected. But really what they're doing is they're plugging in, if you think about it, you're connecting everything. Trade can still happen like we have been doing for 500 years, right? But the key thing is being able to connect the high-tech development, supply chains, like all of that value built up to ultimately get AI, robotics, all this cool stuff we've been promised, right? For the rest of our lifetimes, hopefully, or this is the objective, right? This is the project. But the key thing here, the United States needs access to all of these nations in the South Pacific, right? Core inputs to the supply chain. You also got to get the critical minerals, commodities, etc. So if you're thinking about this, you need to connect these things for the real economy, right? To produce the goods, physical capital, etc. But you also need to connect them financially. That's where Japan comes in. Like the yen, why this thing is important, why the intervention, or why we've been building to this for this moment in the yen for 40 years. Think about it this way: if the U.S. is the only firm getting long in size at 160 at an undervalued lend, we're buying up a stockpile of yen. Imagine what happens when the yen carry trade reverses and everybody who was running naked shorts has to cover, right? It's very easy to see
Right.
the U.S. and Japan can now financially link themselves on a new standard, new dollar standard, not the old offshore credit liability, infinitely rehypothecated standard, et cetera. But what's coming down the road, we talked about the stablecoin dollar, won't focus on that today. But all of this stuff, like this is what is trying to be put together. Like this is what the Pax Silica blueprint is actually representing. So this moment, what's going on here with the FX intervention, like this is the battle for the yen to continue building this out. The U.S. winning this one versus the adversaries, or it's also not just the U.S. winning; it's the Japanese domestic economy and its own sovereign, authority also winning this one. So there's a whole lot riding on this. I guess we'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
And that brings us to the key node, the man in the middle, if you will, Masayoshi Son, and SoftBank. So this thing, if you've heard about them in financial headlines, but it's difficult to understand, I think, and put it in context of the bigger picture. I'll try to do that here. SoftBank is a linchpin connecting the monetary story to the AI build out. So think about SoftBank not like a traditional bank doing loans, making deposits, but as a balance sheet that supplies the capital capacity needed to enable this larger technology build out plan. So now that makes monitoring SoftBank a key health signal in this machine that we need to monitor. All right. So the market's assessment of SoftBank's financial condition, look to the chart, can tell us whether this AI and Pax Silica build out is either gaining strength or encountering stress or resistance. So key detail here with the frontier AI labs or model developers, right? OpenAI. They're currently private. They're funded through the venture capital kind of ecosystem. So we don't have public market price that continuously reveals valuation or prospects for the AI model build out of the trade. And they consume a lot of resources, a lot of capital. But SoftBank gives us kind of a shadow indication of that value because it books OpenAI exposure through its Vision Fund too. So if enthusiasm, liquidity, or kind of returns around AI investment and that whole complex start to weaken, we should expect that change to appear in SoftBank's earnings and asset values. So SoftBank just reported earnings for Q2 last week. I know it was a busy August for the yen, all of the above, but within Japan, think about this SoftBank balance sheet as a node that funnels capital. There's actually a lot of dollar borrowing loans funding these AI venture companies. I want to say SoftBank Vision Fund 2 committed, I want to say $40 billion to OpenAI's latest round in March. So just looking at the balance sheet, assessing the quality here, you've got a large exposure to ARM, right, which licenses processor architecture used in your mobile phones, low power devices, data centers, and other like high power consumer systems. And then you've got another 19.3 trillion yen on the balance sheet through their allocation of Vision Fund 2. That includes the OpenAI exposure. So roughly, if you think about it, you look at the stock chart, look at their earnings, all of that. this is really kind of one of the best looks we have into public mark to market pricing of this AI build out, and and then that kind of intersects with Japan's role within this Pax Silica project framework that's under construction, and to a much, on a much like broader level, um, the Japanese and United States monetary integration that we're seeing play out. So watch the yen, watch the FEMA decision, and then going forward, also you'll want to watch SoftBank. They're kind of three windows that give you a look into the same underlying transition that's taking place.